عملهم من شيء كل امرئ بما كسب رهين.
And those who believed and whose descendants followed them in faith, we will join with them their descendants, and we will not deprive them of anything of their deeds. Every person, for what he earned, is retained.
Parenting is not just about telling your children what's right, it's about showing them. Join us every Wednesday between 9 and 10 a.m. for Love Your Kids, a heartfelt and honest series on Islamic parenting, building strong bonds with your children and creating homes where tough conversations are welcome and love is the foundation. We'll explore how to raise children in line with Islamic values, what it means to lead by example, how to open communication between parents and kids, tackling hard topics with compassion and honesty. Whether you're a parent, guardian, or mentor, this show is for you because our children don't follow what we say, they follow what we do. Love Your Kids only on Radio Islam International, Wednesdays 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Don't miss it.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the program on this lovely Wednesday morning. Today on the program, we are joined by Maulana Zahir Raghi, and the topic that we are discussing is a topic that many parents find both difficult and deeply personal as well, navigating the teenage years. Adolescence is a phase filled with emotional, psychological, and relational changes, not only for the teenagers but for the parents as well. On the line with us and on the live on YouTube as well is Maulana Zahir Raghi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Maulana.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Maulana. How are you doing this early morning, bright morning?
Alhamdulillah, Maulana. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well.
Alhamdulillah. Allah has been extremely kind to all of us. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Maulana, last week we started with the discussion of some of the challenges that the parents face, whether it's disciplining of unruly children, dealing with tantrums and so on. And today we focus on the adolescence phase. The adolescent years are perhaps the most challenging stage of bringing up children.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yes, Maulana. So continuing with our discussion when things go wrong, and among the areas where things could go wrong is if we are as parents unable to manage the adolescent years. And this will perhaps be the most challenging stage of bringing up children. And some people would argue that in an environment of freedom that we are living in today, adolescents can be leaders. But adolescence is defined as the period between maturity, puberty, and adulthood. That's the area, that's the age that defines adolescence, the period between puberty and adulthood. Yet if you go back in history, in early societies, maturity was considered the beginning of adulthood. And if you look at all our revealed religions, even the Christian religion, Jewish religion, and more specifically our most final deen, Islam, enshrine this fact in our laws, our ahkam, our rituals. So in Islam, a girl becomes a woman with the onset of menstruation, and the laws of Islam becomes obligatory on puberty, meaning salah, saum, etc. And during adolescence, young adults need to be given the responsibilities of adults to help them achieve this maturity. However, in the modern era, the formal schooling for all has replaced what I would call, for convenience sake, the apprenticeship models of earlier societies, the training models of earlier societies, forcing the general population into the formal education system, and there's nothing wrong in that. People have to be educated. However, as a result of the formal education system, sometimes we've denied our kids and the growing adults the possibility of acting as adults. So even, apprentice positions are not allowed in many places for children, for the adolescents, until the end of formal schooling, namely high school, 17 years old, 18 years old, or even further college, 19, 22 years old. And this has brought about some type of a change in the way our youth and our children are growing. And this has forcing children into a school system that acts in loco parentis, meaning in place of parents. Forcing children into school systems has an acts where the school becomes a substitute for parents and has required pretending that adolescents are still children rather than immature adults. Now, further enshrined in our laws, not coincidentally, is the pretense that all children mature at the age of 18 or 21. This is as a result of the world that we live in, different from what Islam actually says when children actually mature. So, the laws of our countries and the force of sending children to school, which is a good thing sometimes, on this pretense that all children mature only at the age of 18 or 21 when they leave school, when they leave college. In fact, children mature physically at about the age of 19, according to some of the concepts of the West, although they usually mature mentally much earlier, while emotionally, people can mature at a wide range of ages, and some perhaps never seem to do so. So in the past, when these laws and forced schools were not there, in the past, treating adolescents as adults encouraged their mental and leadership abilities, and it enhanced our youth emotionally, and it enhanced their maturity emotionally. But in the modern model, in the modern times that we are living in, treating adolescents as children, which is unfortunately the approach today, this fosters dependency and it insults the sense of self-worth within children, within the youth. So in traditional societies in the past, maybe perhaps some of those of us that are in the ages of 60 and 70 may identify with what I'm going to say now. 15-year-olds participated in teaching, participated in business, participated in civil society. And if you go back in the time of the Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'een, participated in civil society responsibilities. Some of the Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'een were even placed by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in places of leadership, governance, even at the early age of 17. Some of them participated in jihad, at warfare, and even got married at much earlier ages than what is observed today. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, for example, was kept by Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu at the age of 15 among the senior Sahabas in the societies of consultation, in the gatherings of counseling and advice. So we see the shift that has taken place throughout history, and in today's time, the very people that were given those civil responsibilities in the ages that they were given are yet today regarded as immature children. So in modern society, they are treated as younger children, and for serious scholarship, they must wait until college, if not graduate school, pass the matric. This delay in giving adolescents adult responsibilities, adolescence, the word itself tells you, this delay in giving adolescents adult responsibilities has extracted a heavy price. It is the cause of many of the problems that we observe in societies, that confronts with regards to our youth, the young people of our societies. In the first place, let us understand, not all adolescents are suited to study. It's not every adolescent that is suited to pursue their studies in school, universities, colleges. There is an intense resentment sometimes, and I put emphasis on the word sometimes, there is this intense resentment sometimes among most adolescents towards the school system into which they are forced, into which they are confined. And those who are suited to scholarship perhaps resent being treated like children. Those denied from working by law until the age of 16, because of their mental and temperament, engage sometimes because they are forced to into even illegal commerce, and sometimes even into commerce of illegal commodities, and sometimes even drugs. Now, those who might otherwise have sought a place in civil society may even join gangs. So we see in certain communities that young boys, young children have joined particular gangs because they resent the schooling system. And those who might have done well at less formal or more advanced studies may sit sometimes frustrated in their school studies. This is just a synopsis or a diagnosis that I'm giving with regards to how communities in modern times have treated adolescents. Many are diagnosed with attention deficit disorder because their minds cannot focus on the assignments that are being given at schools, and perhaps sometimes are too boring to hold their attention. Additionally, young men and women who in another era would have indulged their raging hormones within the sanctity of marriage, they would have engaged in sex owing to the delay of marriage, unfortunately, and perhaps may even have children out of wedlock or avoid children by getting abortions. Now, these are the various challenges that society is facing as a result of the transformation of a child into adolescence and the various control mechanisms that are in place that deals with these transformations that may not perhaps adequately address the challenges that are faced by these adolescents. Now, the legal remedies to these problems falls outside the scope of our discussion. We're not going to talk about the legal remedies because we do not have control about those legal remedies. Laws of our countries, laws of societies, laws of communities have and are there, and they are not within the scope of our discussions. However, it is important, and this is the scope of our discussion. It is important for parents not to make the mistakes that modern society is making. Do not treat adults, your adolescent child, or your adolescent grown-up like children, but as you would treat young co-workers. Be aware, be cognizant that they are in need of guidance, they are in need of experience, as well as, I'm saying this with a capital R, as well as respect, as well as responsibility, as well as mentorship. So do not treat the adults, the adolescents like children, as you would treat young children. Be aware, parents, and this discussion is focused as to our parents. Be aware that our children or our adolescents are no more children. They are in need of guidance, they are in need of experience, as well as respect, responsibility, and mentorship. Encourage them to take on as much responsibility as possible. Sometimes we overprotect our adolescents who are in high school or in college, and we don't provide them opportunities to take responsibilities of their selves and of the homes and whatever else. Encourage them to take on as much responsibility as possible. Give them some financial responsibility as well, perhaps even a part-time job, perhaps where they become accustomed to the world of work, to the world of earning an income. You know, I recall, Maulana, that when I was in high school, and I presume that many of people that are of my age or even younger were or had to go and work in order to earn some pocket money. So these are responsibilities that we need to provide for our adolescents and never be overprotective, despite what the laws of the country provide us the responsibilities of ensuring that they go to children and always treat them as children. In our deen, they are no longer children. They have responsibilities of the Sharia upon them. And therefore, we need to make them accustomed to the various responsibilities that are required of them. Maulana, if anytime you want to come in, you can come in.
Maulana, you can continue.
Okay, so I want to now, Maulana, I want to give two examples. And I've taken these examples from, just life experience, these examples from people that talk to you about what they are going through in their homes with their adolescent children. And I'm going to give you I'm going to give, for the benefit of our listeners, maybe some of them, or some of us can identify with the examples that I'm providing. Let's take the first example. Fatima, a 9th grader, and has been feeling that nothing is worth it anymore. As hard as she tries, she just doesn't seem to fit in. And the day before, she had tried out for perhaps a project for the school. And when she got onto the platform or the stage, she suddenly froze up and just stopped in the middle of her audition. Now, everyone in her class in the school must know about it. And Fatima is sure they are laughing at her because she's just froze on the stage. She'll never let them know how bad she feels. She knows what they are thinking, and perhaps they are right in what they are thinking about her. She isn't good enough, and she'll never fit in. And Fatima, standing there now, thinks that she hates them all. That's the first example. Let me give you another example. A young boy, Zaid, he punched his fist into the bedroom wall. But it wasn't enough. He picked up his Coke can and throws it onto the wall, and the brown sugary liquid of the contents of the Coke can drips down the wall onto the carpet, and he screams out, "You can't make me." And I must mention that many of the social media reels encourages this ego chamber in people. His father, and he says, "You can't make me." He screams, "I'm not going anywhere with you. I'll do what I want." And Zaid runs down the corridor of the house, runs out of the front door. His father runs after him, yelling at him to get back into the house. But he had already gotten into his car and he speeds away. Zaid was so mad at his father, he had better things to do than go and visit family members with his father. He and his friends had alternate plans, and his father wasn't going to run his life. He knew he'd feel better in this case that he just goes out and takes drugs, smokes weed. Now, these are two examples that I've presented for our listeners, Maulana, and our viewers. Now, let's just do a little bit of an analysis of these two adolescent, boy and girl. What do these young people have in common? As parents, allow yourselves to just reflect. What do these young people have in common? They are battling with anger. These two young people are battling with anger. They are not getting what they want, and things are not the way they think it should be. And again, I'm mentioning that many of the social media reels develop this temperament and character in people. You know, in the past, we gained our spirituality from the divine text, the Quran, the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from sitting in the gatherings of scholars and mashayikh. Unfortunately, today, either for whatever reasons, I perhaps better not to mention the reasons, but many a times the youth are just disconnected, and they find their spirituality, which is providing them their religion, from this media. So they are feeling intense displeasure. These two young examples that I've given of two young, the boy and the girl, they are feeling intense displeasure or antagonism towards someone or something that comes with the realization that things are not always in their control. Now, remember, beloved parents, and again, any youth that are listening, anger is a feeling. It's not a behavior. Anger is a feeling. It's not a behavior. Anger takes many forms. Sometimes it's from indignation, resentment, to rage, to fury. And it is the expression of the forms of anger, which is the behavior that we see. So anger is a feeling, but the expression of it is the behavior that we see. Now, let's go back to the first example, Fatima. She represses her anger and she withdraws. Zaid, on the other hand, is defiant, and in his defiance, he even destroys property. And both will continue their behavior, or it may even escalate until they decide to look within themselves to the roots of their anger. And anger can be harmful or healthy. So anger in itself is not a problem. It can be harmful and it can be healthy. Anger is it's a frightening emotion. It's a negative expression. It can include physical or verbal violence. It can include prejudice, malicious gossip, antisocial behavior, sarcasm, and it can also sometimes lead to addictions, withdrawal, psychosomatic disorders, in other words, a physical illness or a symptom that is caused or worsened by mental and emotional factors like stress, anxiety, trauma, highlighting the strong link between the mind, our mental stage, and our physical stage. And this can devastate lives. It can destroy relationships. It can harm people around us. It disrupts work. It clouds effective thinking. It affects physical health. And it even ruins futures of people. But there is a positive aspect of it as well. It can show us that a problem exists. When we see these type of behaviors, the examples that I provided, the positive thing of it is, it can show us that a problem exists, as anger is usually a secondary emotion. It's a secondary emotion that is brought about by fear. It can motivate us to resolve those things that are not working in our lives. And it may also help us face our issues and deal with the underlying reasons for that anger. And inshallah, we will continue discussing how to deal with that. But before we go on to that, just as a conclusion of our discussion is, let us understand and reflect. What are the reasons for these anger outbursts? And perhaps we can identify with it so that we may address it. Many a times, the anger, some of the reasons are abuse, anxiety, depression. It can also be substance abuse, trauma, grief. These are some of the reasons that anger comes into us. And when that is the case, and if we can reflect on some of the aspects or the examples that I have provided, if one of us or any of us are able to identify with the examples that I've provided, then there is a need for us to just sit back as parents and think, how are we going to address that problem and how we are going to resolve that problem, inshallah. Yes, Maulana.
I think Maulana raises a very important point there, that anger in particular can surface in ways that feel sudden, confused, even frightening for parents. And as Maulana mentioned, what may appear as defiance or disrespect is often just a reflection of inner turmoil, whether it struggles with identity, pressure from peers, academic stress, and also the growing need for independence. Their relationship with their parents is also changing as they become more and more independent, Maulana. So what can we do for our teenagers and for ourselves?
So, being the parent of an angry teenager, being a parent of an angry teenager can sometimes bring out the anger in ourselves. And this is something that we need to be fully cognizant of. That when we are faced with an angry teenager, we as parents, the matured partner, the more responsible partner, should not let ourselves become angry. Teenagers face a lot of emotional issues. They are faced with questions of identity, questions of separation sometimes, relationships, and purpose. Their relationships with their parents is also changing as they are becoming more and more independent. And this can bring about frustration, confusion, and it also leads to anger and a pattern of reactive behavior. They are reacting. There's a reactive behavior. And this reactive behavior is sometimes observed for both parents and the teenager. And unless we work to change our own behavior as parents, unless we work to change our behavior as parents, remember, we will not be able to help our teenagers change their behavior. So if a teenager becomes angry and we react with anger, there's not going to be any solution. As parents, we should be in control, and control demands not for us to also react in anger. So unless we work to change our own behavior, we cannot help our teenagers change theirs. We need to respond rather than react. We need to respond rather than react. So, responding to the situation, the intention is not to deny the anger, but to control that emotion and express it in a proactive way. And therefore, what you're asking, Maulana, is so pertinent. What can we do for our teenagers and for ourselves when we observe these anger outbursts within our teenagers? Firstly, listen to your teen and focus on the feelings. Listen to the teenager and focus on the feeling. Try to understand the situation from your child's perspective. Be empathetic. Blaming and accusing would only build up more walls, and it will end every form of communication, positive communication that you wish to have. So firstly, tell how you feel. Tell them how you feel. And very, very important, beloved parents, when we talk about control, when we talk about controlling our own selves, controlling our emotions, when we observe the outbursts of our teenagers, the anger, most important, very important, stick to facts. Deal with the present moment. Show that you care. Show that you love. Work towards a solution where everyone wins. Remember that feeling angry should not result in violent behavior from yourself. There is such a beautiful portion of a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I always say that there was never a better psychologist than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In one very important hadith which discusses anger actually, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks about not to get angry, in that very hadith, at the end of that hadith, it's a lengthy hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, subhanallah, gives such a beautiful advice. He says that when someone draws your attention towards a weakness of yours, you in turn do not point towards a weakness of the person who is pointing out a weakness of yours. If someone is criticizing you, you in turn do not criticize them. You know, this part of the hadith that discusses anger is such a profound psychological advice. Subhanallah. Imagine if your child comes and just criticizes you and tells you something, and you in turn say, but you also do this. The situation is not going to be resolved. And therefore I say, stick to facts. Deal with the present moment. Show that you care. Show that you love. Work towards a solution where everyone will win in that home, you and your child. Remember that feeling angry should not result in violent behavior. You should not react by beating up your child, by screaming above your voice. Nothing is going to be resolved in that way. Seeking professional help for your teen, seeking professional help for yourself if you have an anger problem, seeking professional help for your family when there is violence, when there is chronic hostility, when there is depression, or a risk of even more severe outcomes, running away, and even sometimes suicide. We should always be in control of the situation, deal with the moment, show you care, show you love, work towards solutions. So in this, Maulana, a few principles for you and I for good communication. Principles for good communication with that angry teenager. In an ideal world, everything runs smoothly and according to plan. But in the real world, things do go wrong. So if in your home things are going wrong, it's not only your home, that's the real world. The goals parents have set, and we spoke about building that strong foundation in our previous discussions. The goals parents have set, the principles they have applied, and the efforts they have put into the family unit will fail unless there is proper communication. So all the groundwork that we've done in building a good foundation, in giving good education, in giving good tarbiyah, all of that will fail if we do not have proper communication. Subhanallah, communication between parents and teenagers is so crucial. Think calmly. When things go wrong, do not allow the levels of anger, the levels of frustrations, the levels of disappointment to rise. Remember, you are the senior partner in that challenge that you are facing. The parent, you are the senior, you are the more matured, you are the more responsible. Act responsibly. Think calmly through the issues that is going through and practice good communication. A few good principles, the principles of good communication that may be applied to resolve many of the temper tantrums and the power struggles that surfaces as children move through their various phases of growing. Allow your children to talk and listen to them without being condescending or impatient. Subhanallah. Allow your children to talk. Allow them to talk, and listen. Listen to them without being condescending or impatient. Many a times, when the child is telling us something, we become so impatient, and sometimes we even become so condescending and we begin to scream. And we say, but listen to me, I'm your father, I'm your mother. No. Be calm, practice good communication skills, practice listening skills, allow your children to talk, listen to them without being condescending or impatient. Remember, we have a goal, we have an object to achieve. And the object that we want to achieve is to have a good relationship between you and your child. Sometimes that is obtained through patience. Encourage them to talk about the day, tell a story, discuss a problem. Try not to interrupt when they are talking. The oral traditions of the past, in which storytelling and discussions were integral aspects of a community, were integral aspects of a family life, have now been replaced, unfortunately, with the visual traditions, the TV, the movies, video games, social media reels. Talking, not screaming, talking, communicating has many advantages. It gives children the confidence to express themselves. It makes them more articulate and inculcates a natural ability to discuss. It inculcates a natural ability to discuss even trivial or even serious issues with parents. Talking, communicating has many advantages. It gives your child, your teenage, confidence to express themselves. It makes them more articulate. It inculcates a natural ability to discuss small, trivial, or even big or serious issues with parents. Although you as the parent are often tired sometimes and may find it difficult to talk, nevertheless, talking will always be worth the time spent. The child you talk with will grow. The child you talk with will relate to you as a human being rather than the person who simply feeds and clothes them. It will allow children to feel connected to parents. It will allow your children to feel connected to the home. Remember, good communication will teach children the behavior and the respect required when they have to interact with others, particularly respect for the parent. Do not put children down or make them feel stupid. Be aware of your own behavior. It should be polite, it should be attentive and controlled. The idea is to make children confident and secure. Remember that the outbursts were because of insecurity. So if you are calm, you are going to allow the child to become secure. You're going to allow the child to become confident. Two aspects of a personality which they will carry with them throughout their adult lives. Together with that, together with being calm, together with allowing them to speak, together with listening, out of that moment, initiate intellectual discussions, debate issues and compare opinions without raising voices. This will teach children critical thinking. It will develop in them intellectual stamina. Parents, I've observed this within my own family. Do not underestimate children's intelligence. And I've observed this with the kids and the children and the teenagers that I teach. Do not underestimate children's intelligence. Do not negate their views on subjects. A good time to talk is during your meals. If parents initiate a habit of keeping the television switched off and eating food together on a table or on the floor, you will make life much easier with the children when they are older. The television takes attention away. It blocks the development of deep relationships, especially at meal times, which are an excellent opportunity to generate and experience, subhanallah, family bonding. Do not lose control of the situation by losing your temper or resort to fear tactics to control your children. Avoid communication until you have calmed down. Until you have calmed down, do not communicate. Do not lose control of the situation. Sometimes, some parents, mothers especially, sometimes they still frighten children with imaginary monsters to prevent them from doing certain things, such as going out at night. They have invented monsters or misrepresented the jinn. Children at home at night and away from, they talk about the Opasaki and boogeyman and all of these things. These are superstitious beliefs. And we should remember that these things don't really bring about correct results. I want to end on by saying, talk to children at their level rather than towering above them like a giant. Be affectionate with them. Sometimes when there is this anger outburst, in order to control your emotions, place your hand lightly in theirs as you talk. The touch of the human body brings about very positive, compassionate emotions. Place your hand lightly in theirs as you talk. Touch them with love so they constantly feel a bond with you and become used to expressing their feelings. Sometimes we accuse others of talking too much. But do we ever accuse them of listening too much? Listening is caring. The louder we talk, the quicker our children switch off. The louder we talk, the quicker our children switch off. Maulana Jazakallah, I think I spoke too much. As much as I'm saying, listen more than talking, I myself have been accused of talking too much today. Jazakallah, Maulana.
Jazakallah khairan to you, Maulana, for such an insightful discussion. Maulana has certainly helped unpack what many parents are struggling with, and I'm sure lots of listeners will be taking comfort and practical guidance from what you've shared. As the program was going on, there's already been so many requests for the recording of the program, and inshallah we will send it to you, the listeners that requested it. And Jazakallah khairan, Maulana, always a pleasure to have you on the airwaves, and we really appreciate your time.
Jazakallah, Maulana. But if there are any comments from parents, things that they may not identify with or anything else, please, they are free to talk. If not today, because we've run out of time, there's always for them an opportunity to participate in the discussions.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Maulana. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.